What's up, guys? This is Twilight and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about individuals and why they would prey on someone else's emotional weaknesses. Now, I know I have a tendency to talk about toxic relationships and how they are created. The reason why I do a deeper dive on these particular subject matters is because when you are in an unhealed state and you have not started your healing journey, even if you're a good person, you could still be potentially attracting individuals into your experience who will exploit your emotional weaknesses. So it is incumbent upon us to recognize that while we cannot be accountable for what happened to us, what environments we grew up in, we are only really responsible for our healing. And as difficult as that may be, sometimes the healing is more challenging than the wound itself. So actually getting to the point where you acknowledge and accept your unhealed state and walk through and feel it all the way through to the point of your healing and truly owning it, becoming accountable, and practicing radical self-love positions you for more healthy, mutually reciprocal relationships, which is what many of us deserve. So don't be a person that misses out on the love that you deserve simply because you have decided not to embark on your healing journey. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why a person would want to attach to your emotional weaknesses besides the obvious reasons like narcissistic supply. Men, from what I've observed, tend to desire respect, reverence, and trust from the women or woman that they have chosen to partner with. And men who are honorable, who have great character and high moral standards and are consistent and are emotionally stable, tend to naturally inspire reverence from women in that way. Now, you take a male who has not cultivated those types of healthy characteristics. He knows very well internally that a woman who is confident, secure, and feels good about herself is likely going to see where he falls short at. And because of that, she's not going to be able to naturally revere him and respect him in his position. So because reverence and trust is a very important aspect to most males, naturally they're going to look for people, whether it's male or female, who will give them the response of reverence and respect. But he knows it's not going to happen with someone who is more confident and self-assured. She's going to see easily where he falls short at. So he needs someone who is mired in insecurity in some kind of way, who doesn't feel like they are worthy, who doesn't feel like they are deserving, who doesn't feel like they are someone who should be loved. So he almost unconsciously looks for someone who carries those particular characteristics because she will not make him feel threatened or exposed for the things that he does not measure up in. And it is really all a subconscious song and dance. So from a woman's perspective, this may go a little bit like she knows that she is looking for someone who will love her. And she will accept the counterfeit version of love, which is a male that needs her. So if she had to connect with someone who potentially made as much money as she does, or potentially had the same level of access to resources and attention that she does, this might make her feelings of the fact that she may feel that she's unlovable in some type of a way, or she feels that she is not good enough in some type of a way. This may expose that in her. So therefore, she is going to go for a male who potentially is going to give her the feeling that he needs her. Maybe it isn't love, but it's counterfeit enough, and it gives her a sense of control. He need me, girl, and can only speak from the perspective of what I've seen in my environment and potentially have experienced. And this would be the type of woman who has a male that is driving her car. Obviously there's extenuating circumstances as to why this may be, but I am speaking solely on having seen some of these particular dynamics. It's because they know that these men cannot produce the way that they can produce, and because they fear that they are not lovable, that they have some things that are undesirable, they attach themselves to males who they feel can't really truly self-actualize, therefore keeping the pace of control in the relationship. So people who look for other individuals who are damaged aren't always people who externally depict characteristics of someone who would need to get with another person due to how damaged they are. However, you never know what fears of inferiority, inadequacy, and low self-worth is festering beneath the surface for anyone, because that's just not the topic of conversation. Most of the time, people spend so much time on social media acting lit, capping for everybody and everyone, making it seem like their life is just a fucking video, a hip-hop video, that with all the fronting and stunting, you would never know that people are dealing with these levels of deep down insecurities. But these are the individuals who absolutely target people who they feel have emotional weaknesses. Now, for example, if that male was to open his eyes and start to grow, better himself, and self-actualize, she would feel she was losing control and potentially start to create chaos and negativity between them, because she feels like that's all she had. And it is the same thing with the male who looks for the woman who has all these deep down insecurities, who doesn't know her own worth, who thinks she's invaluable in some type of way. She will worship the ground he walks on because he has all of the trappings that make him desirable, but doesn't necessarily have the self-worth and the self-esteem. So as the woman begins to heal, he's not going to be okay with that, because now this is going to start to bring attention to where he's lacking at. And that is what they are trying to run from. They're trying to run from those feelings of shame and insecurity and inferiority. And by finding a mate who would be happy to be with them regardless, this gives them a false sense of power and control that also translate into the emotional needs that they were looking to fulfill in the first place. So with people like this, you can't get healed. You can't heal yourself. The minute you start to better yourself, you start to release some of the toxic emotions that you have been festering with for a long time, they're going to get so uncomfortable that they're going to make your life uncomfortable. They're going to get so insecure, and it is going to be like, well, wait a minute, Mr. or Mrs. Everything. I thought you were the one that was a gift to me. I thought you were doing me a favor by being with me. But it looks as if though, if I'm not depressed and miserable, then you don't feel confident in our relationship. You don't feel good about yourself. So ultimately, going into relationships when you are dealing with these types of insecurities, these types of things that make you feel like you're not good enough, and choosing a mate from that space is ultimately the absolute worst mind state to go into a relationship with. I chose you because I know that it's less likely that you're going to leave me, because you should be happy to be with me and you're totally not good enough for me anyway, so I don't have to worry about you leaving me. That's where people fucking up at. And I see it all the time. When I say all the time, I mean all the time. So don't be fooled. You think that someone would not want or target people because they are damaged, but people absolutely do go after people because they are damaged, because they feel as if though this person will not have what it takes to walk away from the relationship, or the other person being emotionally damaged, they're always going to feel like they have the upper hand. And those are ego-based relationships that turn out to grow into very toxic relationships, because they're all based on ego needs and voids being filled, as opposed to two whole people coming together under the guise of love. Now, how a person, a good person, can get deeply damaged in a situation like this if they don't heal their wounds. Because if you go into a relationship, you're a good person, you're wounded though, and you meet someone who you think is going to be great for you, but they're only choosing you because they know you're wounded. You have to get to the core root of why they're choosing you. If they're only choosing you because they know you're wounded, then they intend for you to stay that way. And so that is why the relationship will have friction when you're starting to heal yourself. I suggest you rethink your connection with that individual, because it is already parasitic and toxic. And it is too bad for a person who is a good person to have to be exploited by someone who is not necessarily having their best interest at heart. Okay, that's totally unfair to you, and you deserve a good relationship. So in becoming a vibrational match for a good relationship, you do the inner healing work, okay? And I think that when people realize how important inner healing work is, and how that helps you to heed to a more useful and substantial vibration, that will also attract more useful and substantial people who want to partner with you and are not there to try to control, manipulate, and utilize you to masturbate their egos, okay? So this is Twilight saying, listen, have peace, go on your healing journey, and love yourself.